first try. Many fighters have won world championships in their first efforts, and many fighters, especially now with the titles broken up so many different ways and so many different divisions, or by ranking organizations, you can fight 10 fights, 15 fights, 20 fights. Anything's possible.
Chappie, it is time for a prediction.
You know, I've had so much uncertainty with my predictions tonight. I hadn't seen Lyles. I haven't seen Mercado. I've only seen brief clips of Hopkins. I feel like a politician sitting in a bad place because we have another toss-up on our hands.
No, you are clearly sitting on a fence. Let's uncover the tail of the tape for the IBF middleweight championship. Hopkins weighed in at 157 pounds. Mercado tipped the scales at 158. Mercado has a 3-inch reach advantage. Hopkins is 2 years older than Mercado and 1 inch shorter. And the rules for this IBF bout are as follows. Scoring is done in a 10-point must system. 3 judges score the fight. The referee does not. There is no standing 8 count. The 3 knockdown rule is not in effect. Only the referee can stop the fight. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. So we are set to crown a new champion. Will it be Bernard Hopkins or Segundo Mercado? Let's return ringside to Quito, Ecuador, to Sam Smith and the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, and welcome back once again as we get ready for our main event. And Ferdy, we've seen some interesting scoring in that first fight. It should be very interesting in the second fight as dignitaries from around the world literally are being introduced, including, of course, the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali, is in attendance, along, of course, with Don King, the promoter, who is, of course, putting all this on with the great people here in Quito, Ecuador. It is great to see the champion receive, as he always does, a great rousing round of applause and the great admiration of Muhammad Ali around the world.
Well, it makes you feel good because no matter how many years have passed, he always draws a crowd. He can't get in a limousine, drive down the street that there aren't hundreds of people tailing along, and they love him here, so everybody gave him a standing ovation, and why not? He was a great champion, and he is such a decent human being, a religious person who is at peace with himself. I was talking to his wife this morning. I said, he's almost too good to be true. People can't believe how good this guy is. So what's not to like about him? Of course, all of us are saddened that he isn't jumping and bouncing, but even that he takes in stride, and he says it's God's will. Don't feel sorry for me. This is the way I'm playing my cards. So more power to the champion. Great rally.
Very calm inside the ring, but you can imagine back in the dressing room where Bernard Hopkins, the executioner of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, looking to become the first middleweight in the history of that city to win a world title, and of course the first ever, as there they are. Muhammad Ali. Was there ever a greater fighter that's come down the pipe than Ali? And of course Don King putting on his great show.
And was there ever a man not made to wear a hat than Don King? There's no way he can keep that on his head. He keeps sliding backwards.
There's some activities before we get ready for our main event. Jimmy Lennon's going to sort them all out for us. Jimmy?
Damas y caballeros, antes de la pelea principal, presentamos cariño y afecto en el mundo de boxeo. Before the main event, ladies and gentlemen, we present our very special guest and the well-loved man of boxing, the legendary 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, known as the greatest of all time. Demos la bienvenida al más grande campeón de todos los tiempos, el único, Muhammad Ali.
Country has been waiting for as their hero, Segundo Mercado, ready to come out of the tunnel, and you'll hear the lid come off of this. One of the things that's in the back of his mind, though, is the tragedy that he fights under. He lost his sister, Marta. She committed suicide just a week ago, and that followed closely on a tragic death of one of the outstanding generals here in Ecuador, a longtime friend and mentor, General Miguel El Tirado. He died in a helicopter crash several weeks ago, and a tragic moment in the life of this young man in Ecuador. He's had to put that behind him. He's dedicated not only this night, the fight, and the championship to both of those who have fallen by the wayside, and he hopes to step to the front to become the first ever in Ecuadorian history to become a world champion. Ferdy, you've been around all the activities. It was hard to shield him from everything that was going on in Quito this week.
It was, and he's taking it all in stride. That's a double dose of bad news that he got. That's a hammer blow to your body, but he managed to keep it together. I tell you, this is a festival the city has undergone. I've experienced it in Zaire. I've experienced it in the Philippines, in Jakarta, when the nation turned out for an alley fight. They almost suspend all activity just to concentrate on that fight. That's the kind of impact this young kid has had here, and they're banking on him to win. If he doesn't win, they're going to be disconsolate. And if they win, there's going to be a celebration that's going to last a week, because these people are really in the corner of Mercado.
Ferdy, of course, was among the very select group invited by the acting president of Ecuador, Mr. Alberto Daik, to a special luncheon the other day. The president, by the way, Sixto Duran, is in Washington suffering from a back ailment where he's having surgery, and thus the acting president is taking over. Ferdy Pacheco, Ali, also Oliver McCall, the WBC reigning champion, is here, and quite an outing at that luncheon, and this young man certainly the keynote of that luncheon.
And he has come out here, and the crowd is going crazy. And so are his cornermen. I mean, he is just up as up can be, and why not? This is one night, and he hopes it'll be the first of many great nights here in Ecuador.
He grew up in a large family of 12 brothers and sisters. He was the baby, though, and they called him champion when he was young, and he hopes to get it today. Speaking of champions, would-be champions, Bernard Hopkins. He had a shot at one earlier against Roy Jones Jr. He lost that one in 12 rounds. Jones, of course, vacating this title to go up, where he won the IBF Super Middleweight Championship, and thus the vacant title that this man, Bernard Hopkins, hopes to win tonight to become the first Philadelphian to win a middleweight championship for the world. And I found that a little hard to believe when you consider the boxing-rich Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area.
And so many great fighters that came out of there in that weight class. I mean, for a while, you couldn't move. There were so many of them around. But, you know what? Boxing's a strange sport. So many little things happen to you on the way to the championship. And, of course, tonight, if this young man, Bernard Hopkins, wins, he will defy the physiologists and the laws, because you cannot come into a place like this 3 or 4 days ahead of time and expect to get acclimatized. You heard both fighters say that the climate bothered them, the altitude bothered them, especially the champion. Frankie said, yes, I was tired by it. Not so much. Well, imagine what's going to happen to this guy. So we will see. Those first few rounds are going to be very, very interesting.
He calls himself the Executioner, and thus the mass of Bernard Hopkins. You see Butch Lee leading him out, his promoter. He's been pumping this crowd into a frenzy every time we've had any kind of a press conference as well. And now this crowd is waiting, and this will be, I'm sure, with very, shall we say, mixed emotions from the crowd.
There's Butch, and he is a masterpiece of shirtless arrogance. I mean, he has installed himself as a man that doesn't wear a shirt, and right behind him we just saw Michael Spinks, in my opinion, one of the best 3 light heavyweights I ever saw. I include him equal to Archie Moore and Bob Foster, if not a shade ahead, because he did win the heavyweight championship, the only one to do that from the light heavyweight, and a wonderful man.
One thing that Bernard seems to feel might be in his favor is the fact that who has Mercado defeated in his 18 wins. I've been in the championship level with Roy Jones Jr., and now I'm reaching another one. There's a different atmosphere. Certainly this young man from Ecuador is going through it for the first time, and if the altitude does not get Hopkins, he feels that he will have an opportunity to kind of play off of that experience as well. These two guys have been at each other all week long, and we'll see what happens when they do eventually get in the ring together. You see this man who would be champion of Ecuador waiting for the man to get in, and there's a good look at Michael Spinks.
What a fighter. What a light heavyweight that man was. I mean, he was. If he had just stayed a light heavyweight, he would have amassed a record nobody would have come close to. Archie was already old when he got in. Bob Foster was great also. So My hat's off to those three light heavyweights.
You get a little gamemanship going on here, and the fact they're just holding outside.
You know, I never played that game. Everybody tried to do it. Everybody always tried to do something to Ali, and it never worked. It never worked for anybody. You know, it's a lot of waste of energy. The fighter gets nervous. Right now, they're playing a game about corners. Who gets what's corner? It's all nonsense. That's been decided before and signed and sealed and delivered. So.
Hopkins is the #1 contender in the IBF. Mercado is #2.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If there's anybody can orchestrate a mess to begin with to discombobulate this guy, it is Butch Lewis.
So again, the highest ranked fighter normally gets the red corner, and then the next man gets the blue, and that's exactly what's happening as Mercado is now coming across the ring. You see him with an embrace to the former great Muhammad Ali. But he has yielded to the higher ranked fighter being in the red corner, and that is the reason that Hopkins was standing out of the ring waiting to come in to the ring.
Well, there's a lot of argument still going on. It's still not settled.
And now he is coming up on the ring apron and will step into the ring. Ali may have been the man that tried to be a little piece to the different corners there, and you saw Mercado certainly accepting the move to the blue corner.
I think he's so anxious to get this fight on. He didn't care what corner he's at. Let's just get that bell going.
Well, they're two young fighters, Hopkins at 28, Mercado at 27, and this is their first fight of a lifetime. And you can see the crowd. They are on their feet as they wait the moment of truth. Is it Ecuador with a new world champion? Or does Philadelphia and the U.S. have the title holder in the IBF? Let's go to Jimmy Lennon for the introduction.
Señoras y señores, favor de ponerse de pie para escuchar los himnos nacionales. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask you to rise for the presenting of the national anthems. Primero, el himno nacional de los Estados Unidos. El himno nacional de la República de Ecuador. Aquí está Jesús Fichamba.
Todos.
Gloria a ti, gloria a ti. A tu pecho rebosa, gozo y paz y a tu pecho rebosa. Y tu frente radiosa, más que el sol contemplamos lucir. Y tu frente radiosa. sol contemplamos lucir. Mente radiosa, más que el sol. Los primeros, los hijos del suelo, que soberbio el pichincha decora, que aclamaron por siempre, señora, y vertieron su sangre por ti. Nos miró y aceptó el holocausto, y esa sangre fue germen fecundo. Los luceros que atónito el mundo, y en tu torno a millares surgir. Sangre fue germen fecundo, y otros ceros que atónito el mundo, y en tu torno a millares surgir. A millares surgir. A millares surgir. Salve, oh patria, mil besos, oh patria, gloria a ti, gloria a ti. Ya tu pecho rebosa, oh soy patria, tu pecho rebosa, y tu frente radiosa, más que el sol contemplamos lucir. Tu frente radiosa, más que el sol contemplamos lucir. Ecuador.
Muchas gracias a Jesús Bichamba. Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, bienvenidos aficionados al box, al Coliseo Rumiñahui en Quito, Ecuador, por el campeonato, por el título mediano vacante de la Federación Internacional de Boxeo. We welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to Quito, Ecuador, for the main event of the evening for the vacant IBF Middleweight Championship of the World, brought to you by Don King Productions and Promotores Asociados en la cerveza más fina, Corona. This bout is sanctioned by the International Boxing Federation, Presidente Robert Lee Sr., Supervisor Francisco Fernández, along with la Comisión de Boxeo Profesional de Pichincha, Presidente Enrique Juanín. Presentando a los jueces, the judges scoring this bout from ringside, Al DeVito, Paul Gibbs, and Francisco Hernandez. The referee in charge of this bout to give instructions after introductions, el referee es Sam Williams. Bien, amigos, esta es la pelea principal de la noche de 12 asaltos. All right, fans, here we go with the main event of the evening. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, it's showtime. El Campeonato Peso Medio de la FIB, the IBF Middleweight Championship of the World, scheduled for 12 rounds. Presentando en la esquina azul, presenting first in the blue corner, wearing colors of the flag of Ecuador, red, blue, and gold trunks, originario de Esmeraldas y ahora representando Quito, Ecuador. Con un peso de 158 libras, he weighed in at a ready 158 pounds. Con un récord de 18 victorias, 2 derrotas, tiene 11 victorias por knockout. His outstanding record includes 18 wins, 2 losses, with 11 of his wins coming by way of knockout. Please welcome the IBF number 2 ranked middleweight contender. Aquí está el retador número 2 en el mundo, representante en el boxeo mundial, al compatriota Segundo Mercado. opponent across the ring in the red corner, wearing black trunks with gold trim, el peleador de Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, en los Estados Unidos. Con un peso de 157 libras, he weighed in at 157 pounds. Con un récord de 26 victorias y 2 derrotas, con 19 ganadas por knockout. His outstanding record includes 26 wins, 2 losses, with 19 wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked the #1 middleweight contender by the IBF. Here is the USBA middleweight champion. Aquí está el primer retador peso medio de la FIB, presentando Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins.
Let's have a good one. I want you to watch your headbutts, your low blows, your kidney punches. On my command to break, take a full step back with your hands up. Protect yourself at all times. In case of a knockdown, I'll send you to the furthest neutral corner. Remain there until I send for you. Good luck, man. Good luck. Va a bailar conmigo, baby.
Sam Smith, Bertie Pacheco, we're ready for this, the IBF Middleweight Championship of the World. And Bertie, I can't help believing, though, that Bernard Hopkins comes in like a gunfighter going into a gunfight with only 1 bullet in the chamber. He's fighting, of course, in the man's hometown. He's fighting at 9,000 feet above sea level. It's going to be a tough, tough fight, and indeed he does take that world title back to Philadelphia.
Boy, but Bernard is trim. Look at that musculature. Look at the definition. He is really trim. And let's see as we begin what should be the fight of night.
Round 1 scheduled for 12. The Executor come right out with a right hand. Mercado cut that one right off the chin and back quickly up into the rope.
And held on.
Hopkins, by the way, owns of his 19 knockouts, 12 of them in the first round.
Well, he's certainly starting out looking like he wants to duplicate that because he threw a thunderous punch. And it happened to connect, and it happened to bother Mercado. So right off the bat, this guy is looking at the Executioner seriously.
Do you think this is the game plan, certainly, of Hopkins? I've got to get him early before the altitude catches up.
It sure would be mine if I'd brought a fighter in here 2 or 3 days before. Put all you whip it on at the beginning.
Boy, he's setting down on punches early. Throwing a left-right combination off the break, goes a good left hand. Follows it with another solid right that sings. Mercado into the ropes.
Mercado better start doing some fighting to keep this guy off.
He comes back with a combination, is cheered by the crowd. But it's Hopkins that's doing the work. Mercado came back with a good uppercut. Look at Hopkins working the corner.
Hopkins is zinging those punches in there. They got a lot more steam and they're landing with much more accuracy than Mercado's. And he doesn't wait for that referee to break him freely. He's punching right off the bat. He is really steamed. Oh, Bernard Hopkins is coming here with a load of steam.
We're only halfway through the first round, and we've had a whale of a start to this one tonight. You see Mercado trying to hang on to kind of quieten his tempo down just a bit. Hopkins trying to cut off the ring, trying to trap him in the corner. He's got him there. Mercado swings around, got a good left hand to the body. Good double left hand that time by Hopkins.
And he's got Mercado in a little tiny bit of a problem. He's looking to grab him and saying, where are you? Let me stop this. Where are these punches coming from? Hopkins is outspeeding him, outthinking him, and out-hitting him. This is certainly no way to please the crowd.
Break it up. Break.
Referee having a hard time breaking.
Sam Williams of the U.S. is the referee. 2 of the judges are from the U.S. Paul Gibbs of Seattle. Al DeVito from West Orange, New Jersey. The other judge, Francisco Hernandez, is from Colombia. Halfway through, just a half a minute to go in the first round.
Hopkins has sure introduced himself with a bang to Mercado.
Mercado wide open for that left hook because Hopkins has found a home for it.
and they're trading bomber punches. It's only the first round. It's like either me or you. Nobody seems to be having any sense of this, except the executioner is doing much, much better.
And there's the bell to end what this crowd probably didn't want to see, a big first round by the American Bernard Hopkins.
Now you know where he is, right? You know where he is, right? All right. All you gotta do is stay with your check. Stay with your check. You're not giving away nothing. You're taking it. You're not gonna give him nothing. Keep the check on it. Keep it in his face. You heard me say, Bernard? Huh? Keep it in his face. Keep it in his face, man. Keep it in his face, baby.
Take your time. Pick in the piece. Don't stand in front of when you get him on the rope.
Don't worry so much about it. What you say? What you tell me he was going to do? Give me my shot. Give me my shot.
Well, Purdy, I guess if you wanted a ideal first round, that'd probably be it for Hopkins, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it sure been his ear when he went back. 3 guys talking at one time doesn't make any sense. And the corner of Mercado looks like the polar ice cap. There's more ice down there than I've seen since Admiral Byrd showed his picture.
That's Williams will get it cleaned out of there.
Look at that, Sam. Come on. Look at that. Oh, this referee's good. I mean, he is definite. Oh, Sam Williams is definitely in charge of this fight.
He almost has the stare of a challenger or champion himself.
Look at his belt. He looks like he's been a fighter.
Round 2, Bernard Hopkins in the black with a gold trim. Multicolor to the country of Ecuador, belongs to their hometown, Segundo Mercado. He actually trained in a military school here in the Quito area, thus his association with a general who was killed in the helicopter accident several weeks ago, and really felt he needed that isolation to get himself ready for this fight, with all the distractions that are surrounding him as they are now.
Well, his main distraction is the executioner, Bernard Hopkins, who is curiously not fighting with the stamina and strength of the first round. He looked like he was going to take command. Now he's boxing him. Just the opposite of what his corner tried to tell him. Stay in his face. Keep throwing those punches. Now he didn't stay in his face. He's back here boxing. Let Mercado get himself together and try to take command of a round.
As we brought to your attention, in an earlier fight, Frankie Lyles kind of lived in the shadow of some of the other great amateurs despite winning a couple of national titles. Speaking of lack of amateur respect, it was Hopkins. Did most of his fighting, he said, on the streets of Philadelphia. I don't know if he won or lost all those. I'm not sure.
I think he won them because he's here. The people that lost are not around anymore.
Tough way to learn your skills. Said he went the wrong way, but at the age of 16, got his life squared around. Goes back into his neighborhoods in Philadelphia, works with the youngsters, and he lands a good right hand on Mercado, brings some blood to the right nostril.
Mercado trying to do some boxing here. Landed some good shots. Neither one of them have really taken command of this round. It's very strange that they both start out so hard, and then they've slowed down to what should have been the first round. This is what the first round should look like.
Good left hand on the inside. Hopkins on Mercado coming after him.
Mercado too far away. Mercado, when he comes in, by the time he lands his blow, he's ready for a counter punch, and that's exactly what Bernard Hopkins is doing. He waits for him to throw, and then he can get it for a counter punch. He's got to close the distance, and he's got to punch with both hands, as Mercado.
Under a half a minute to go in the second round. Hopkins again not as active as he was in round 1, but again picking his opportunities very carefully and doing a good job of it in the second round as Mercado tries to pick up the pace again here in this round.
But from too far away. By the time he gets there, the other guy's either gone or a counter punch is coming at him. He's got to cut that distance. He just has not been able to get the range yet, as Bernard Hopkins did in the first round. Now that's a nothing round. It's hard to figure out who gets up.
We're going to head into the Ecuadorian corner here and see exactly what their posture might be after the first 2 rounds.
He's mainly being told to punch with more force, to close the distance, and to go to the body. Those are three things that they have repeated over and over again. Let's see if he punches with more steam.
Round 3 of this 12-rounder. Again, Hopkins not having his mouthpiece in. Sam Williams literally calling off Mercado's chase across the ring.
Gentlemanly thing to do.
Now, Ferdy, the big question. Obviously, they want him to punch more and be a little bit more active, but how does he close?
Oh, he just got hit.
He did indeed, and down he goes.
He got hit just as he started to come in.
Sam Williams was rolling in a slip.
The referee didn't see it, and he got hit just as he came in, and he's got no legs under him now. Well, he's looking at his corner, wild-eyed.
So Hopkins again with a good right hand. Mercado's down, and now he's trying to run for more damage. Another right hand, right in the back of the ear.
Hopkins has landed dynamite. Every time he's hit that big hand, he's hurt him somewhere. Look at, he's looking for that hand now.
The combination by Hopkins again. Backpedals Mercado. You talk about a bad way to try to cut the distance when a guy hits you that solidly. You don't want to get in close.
Yeah, now you need distance between you. But Hopkins steps in your front yard and says, okay, now comes the bad news. Out comes the mouthpiece. Mercado in trouble again.
Hopkins just pulling his way onto the ropes.
The referee tries to stop, and Hopkins gets in a sneaky punch.
And they're going to replace the mouthpiece, stopping the time. They'll wash it off and put it back in here in this 3rd round.
And Mercado's not walking straight. I mean, he's jerking, he's walking.
Sam Williams again very much wanting to be in control. Make sure they're both in the neutral corner before he orders the box again. And here comes Hopkins.
Hopkins is a killer punching machine. He means every one of those punches to do damage.
Hopkins weighing in at 157, 158 for Mercado. Mercado enjoying a 2-inch height advantage and a slight reach advantage, but the punching power right now belongs to Bernard Hopkins. There's that good left hook that he throws well.
He throws it as a counterpunch. When the guy just lunges in, he waits just at the right moment and times off a counterpunch.
Mercado again, you see, hasn't closed any distance after Hopkins blocked him early on. Got him with a good solid punch, but again, as Mercado went down, Will is a slip, and Mercado trying to answer near the end of the round. Here comes Hopkins with a good combination to fight off the ropes. Under a half a minute to go in the round. Good right uppercut by Mercado as Hopkins walked in with a couple of punches of his own.
He's cutting loose with everything he's got. There's a lot of desperation in those punches of Mercado. This fight is getting out of his control. He's getting hit by very hard shots.
And the barrel ends round 3. Well, Bruce and Bobby watching this one back in New York, gentlemen. Looks like this one's winding up to be a war.
Well, welcome back to Control Central in New York City, everyone. Bruce back along with Bobby Chez. And Bobby, you think it's a case of jitters in his first championship fight for Mercado?
Well, we know that Hopkins said he had the first fight jitters when he fought Roy Jones Jr. He came out like an animal in the first round, maybe to do just that to his opponent and maybe get Mercado a little flustered. It seemed to be doing the job.
It was called a slip. Was it a slip or was it a knockdown in that 3rd round, Bobby?
Well, we'll take a look at the instant replay, and as you watch it, he's coming in. They told him to close the gap a little bit, and it's coming up right here, right hand. It's, you know, it's not really a clean knockdown. As we look at it closely, although he looks like he's a little doing a Leon Earl, if you will, a little wobbly leg. He just didn't hit him clean. They grappled. He kind of pulled him with his right hand. That's a really iffy call. I think no knockdown would have been clean enough.
You like Hopkins' aggressiveness?
Oh, right now he's doing a great job.
All right, let's go back to ringside in Quito.
Well, we can only tell you in person it happened right in front of us, and that was a nice, clean knockdown here. I don't know what the camera showed, but here, and not only that, but he got up on very wobbly legs.
Sam Williams has to play a man at janitorial service here as we get ready for the 4th round again. And then Mercado corner. Mercado trying to close the distance, throws a couple of big punches that ignites the crowd. Hopkins trying to counter off the ropes. Mercado not letting go.
Something's gone in Mercado's leg.
Left leg, he's really shaking it here.
Yeah, like his knee locked on him or something. Okay, something's motioning to his leg.
I'd say that's a bad leg to do on that leg when you're trying to put all that weight so power. It's not going to happen if that leg has gone sour in here in the 4th round.
Well, Mercado must feel some of the urgency now because he's fighting a lot harder than he was before. He's sort of gotten the jitters out of him, the looseness out of it. He's gotten gone, he survived, and now he's starting to fight a lot harder.
Hopkins waiting in. You saw him throw that lead right hand. Kind of feints with the left jab and then throws the right behind it. There's another good solid right hand just glancing off the cheek of Mercado. We're just kind of baiting Hopkins in there. You hear the crowd halfway through this round wanting something to happen with the whistles. Mercado answers with a pretty good left hook. Is Hopkins starting to tire a little, Bernie?
Doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. It's just that he's fighting a nice, cautious fight right now. I mean, he's taking his round off. But Mercado's not doing a whole heck of a lot more either.
Looked like Purdy was going to come out and make this his round, but he just kind of turned it off.
Yeah. Something happened in his leg that he keeps pointing to. I don't know what that is, whether he got hit or kneed there or whatever it is. He seems to have shaken it off, however.
Well, I'll have to be the first to admit that Bernard Hopkins is very cool under fire.
Boy, he is.
Here in Mercado's hometown, close to 16,000 plus cheering for their hometown hero, and he gets caught, does Hopkins. Mercado brings him to their feet again.
And
Hopkins
really
a little wobbly.
He caught him with a great big banging right hand, and he's right on top of him.
Hopkins tries to pat him off with the right hand, but here comes Mercado on top of him.
Great action. People are throwing something in the ring here. Some piece of paper or something came floating through there.
Under 15 seconds to go in the 4th. And Mercado's got him into the fight now.
Yep, he won this round.
Ruminawa Coliseum is alive.
And he might have given himself some courage because he did not look like he was very happy those first 2 or 3 rounds.
And a bell ends the 4th round. Let's take a look at some of that action in the round.
That was a right hand that looked like it shook Bernard, and from there on out it encouraged and enlivened Mercado's exchanges, and he came to life.
We're not really sure where he might have hurt his leg. He did get it while he was attacking here.
Well, you know, that's the kind of punch that knocks you out. When you see a guy's head go like that and he's spread eagle like he was, and amazing that he didn't go down.
They have not addressed the issue of the leg in his corner yet. Well, apparently no problems.
No, Mercado's continued to stand, and his corner feels like he's turned the corner, and he said, now do some more of that and start taking command of the fight. He stood through the whole minute. Through the whole minute, did Mercado.
Well, clearly his best round. Bull Mercado comes out with a looping left hand. Hopkins ducking away from the attack that came right at him. Good counter punching by Hopkins as Mercado wildly closes the gap. And Mercado with good defense turns it on an offense. Boogie the shots to the body of Hopkins. And now he starts to hot dog it up with Hopkins. I don't think we should feel that punch.
It's a little early for hot dog.
As he tried to just bait Hopkins in.
Hopkins is cool and calm, though.
He stayed cool, yes.
Yeah, he's not buying any of that.
Hopkins has got him in the corner. Mercado, though, is punching there.
Mercado's doing all the work. He's in the corner, and he's doing all the work. He's no question about it. His work ethic
Quito is cheering for from Ecuador. That is Segundo Mercado. Now he is complaining that he is being hit with some low blows. And the black with the gold tassels. The man who would love to take that title out of the other man's hometown is Bernard Hopkins of Philadelphia. Hopkins looked like, Bertie, he was in real trouble in this round.
Well, he's finding his way around. It's certainly not as easy a time as he had those first 3 rounds. Mercado seems like he's found his motion, found his rhythm, and his confidence, which is even better.
And you can tell also, Bertie, it may be by only inches at the moment, but he has indeed started to close that gap a little bit more.
Well, that comes when you get tired, and that comes when the punching starts to take its toll.
You see with that looping left hand. Good combination. Right hand got through.
There he goes.
He's in trouble. Hopkins caught a right hand right on the chin. In that exchange, the right hand puts him down for the first knockdown of the fight.
Solid punch. What Mercado is waiting for, he looks like a guy that's waiting to start a race, and he let him go.
The crowd in a frenzy as Mercado heads in. You see the clash of heads as they're up against the ropes.
Hopkins
And
shaking.
there's the bell to end round 5. And Sam Williams has to literally throw Mercado off the top of Hopkins, who went down in the 5th round. And it's going to be difficult to hear in any corners right now. Particularly for that corner is again, Hopkins goes down in the 5th. Good combination by Mercado, got right on top of him. Bertie, let's take a look at
And
it.
it came like lightning because it was all in that inside punching where it didn't look like they were doing each other any harm. All of a sudden, see that right hand right there? That's what did it. That little right hand. His head just shook, his body shook, and he went down. Miracle he got up because he really got it. Oh, see how clean that was? That and the delayed reaction of him going back. Had he hit him that clean second shot, he would have gotten up.
Hopkins, you can see on the seat of his pants, he was kind of in a total daze because he never saw that punch coming. You can see Williams trying to get in there at the end as the bell went into the round. And here comes Mercado to answer the bell in round 6.
Yeah, Hopkins is not quite all together yet, but this may be the place where altitude and conditioning take effect. Not only is he starting to take a beating, but he's starting to get hit directly, as we just saw by Mercado. Boy, these guys fight no matter whether they're breaking. That is some tough fighting going on in here.
Hopkins trying to fire back here in the 6th. Sam Smith, Bertie Pacheco, Showtime's championship boxing in Quito, Ecuador.
No quitting Hopkins. He's coming on but getting hammered by doing it. He may be too careless here.
I tell you, the uppercut of Mercado is proving to be a pretty good weapon. And then when Hopkins straightened up, he clocks him with the left right as they brawl in the corner. Not sure anybody got any real clean punches in there.
There's a lot of unclean body punches. However, come on.
Hopkins coming in with a pretty solid right hand.
And it lifted him off the canvas a little bit and caused his leg to move in a strange way.
Now, Sam Williams has just warned Hopkins to break on his command.
He got hit again. Again, Mercado got hit. That's the second time he got hit. In this corner and on the ropes, and he won't let go. Look, he is hurt. Look at him. He is hurt. It's going to take the referee and 2 wrestlers to get him out of there. Now, Mercado has been hit and hurt.
Hopkins is coming right back after him. Keep in mind that Mercado went down in the 3rd round, even though he went down with a punch. It was ruled as a slip. And now he's literally being held up by the ropes as Hopkins is pounding away.
And he's missing most of those because of beautiful body action by Mercado, but Mercado's the one that's hurt. Mercado's even ripped his pants from all that shots he was taking, and it's Hopkins that's on top of the case right now.
Well, you never know it that he arrived here on Tuesday in this high altitude. Said he did get a little work, and I say a little work in Denver, but that's a different piece of cake than here in Ecuador, just under 10,000 feet.
Oh, body shot that was very low by Hopkins. Oh, nice right hand by Hopkins. Another one by Hopkins.
Oh, he's sitting down on it again, Ferdy.
Oh, he's sitting on that right hand. He knows what damage he did with it. It's Mercado that's in danger now, not Hopkins.
30 seconds to go in the round.
Another right hand blocking him. He's getting hit by a lot of right hands with Mercado. How many of these can he take?
Keep in mind, at the end of each round, a fighter cannot be saved in a bell. So we have those flurries as we've had so far. A fighter could be in trouble if he goes down. And Mercado again lounges on the ropes just to keep himself righted for the end of the round.
Well, Hopkins is showing what it means to fight a Philadelphia fighter. They're never out and they come back winging. What a round for Hopkins.
So again, a big knockdown early in round 5. Hopkins apparently took that in the adrenaline.
Off your stick. Straight when he bent down. Rip that uppercut.
Give me some hand speed. Don't worry about the power. All right? Stay with your dad, son. Stay with your dad. Keep the check out there.
Ready. Get the water.
Let's take a look at this early action. See that bump right on? You see that? If had his legs hit the canvas, that would have been a knockdown. In some places, they got a knockdown when the ropes hold you off like that. That was a superb right hand.
We'll do it. Let's go second. All right? All right, son?
Well, Hopkins certainly after being knocked down in the 5th round, getting all kinds of encouragement as he opens the bell for round number 7.
And let's see what this altitude does now to him. Right now, he has taken over after being almost out on his feet. What a fight, back and forth.
Mercado, you see the movement, trying to stay away from Bernard Hopkins in this 7th round. Hopkins again tries to close that distance in the corner. Mercado holding on to save himself from damage.
These guys just don't want to break when they get in close. That referee's working very hard. Good thing he's a big guy.
Keep in mind that Hopkins was warned earlier by Sam Williams, the referee. And a good left hand by Hopkins. Excuse me, by Mercado. Mercado slips. We were talking about the damn ice in that corner. He literally slipped on it.
Okay. She's silly in that corner.
Well, you're talking about a hamstring or a door and pull. He could have easily had one right there. Hopkins goes right after him to give him even more trouble. Hopkins really working hard in the 7th round. With the altitude it was affecting him earlier, it's not right now.
No, and he's just in as much danger of getting knocked down as he was before because Mercado seems to have gotten himself back together again. And although he's taking some punches, he's landing some good shots now.
He's been countering very well off the ropes, and then Hopkins persistently pushing to try to trap him and just hold him.
Hopkins the aggressor. Hopkins chasing. Hopkins wanting the knockout before this altitude takes effect on him.
Good combination thrown by Hopkins, intervened by a pretty good left hand by Mercado, who counters with another uppercut left hand.
They're whistling the referee, but for no reason. There's no reason for that.
Hopkins, you can almost hear that body shot. And now Mercado spins him in, and Hopkins is down.
There was a little tiny punch in that clinch that got Hopkins in trouble, just like it was before. On the inside, a small punch. He gets up, he's mad. He's saying, no, it isn't. But he sure went down. And here comes Mercado.
So as we close in under a half a minute of this round, round number 7, Hopkins down for the 2nd time in the fight. And Mercado trying to put the finishing touches on it if Hopkins folds up.
Hopkins is holding on with everything he's got. Here comes that referee again. He's separating him, and it's up to Mercado to get the job done.
Good left-right combination by Mercado. And there's the bell in the 7th round as Hopkins down for a 2nd time.
Incredible fight as we go back and forth with these rounds. It looks like they're different fighters fighting here. What a series of events which has made this fight one of the bigger brawls we've seen this year so far.
This fight was almost like the flags waving back and forth.
Let's take a look at what happened on the inside there. That little thing right there, that little uppercut. See how he's holding on? That little uppercut had him in terrible trouble. These are pushes. Nothing. That little uppercut, tiny as it was what did the damage. How often you see that infighting. If you know how to do it, it's devastating.
Hopkins, again, you recall, after going down earlier in the 5th round, came back and maybe had one of his better rounds in the 6th. Let's see if he can rebound again. He's going to need it. And again, Sam Williams has to detain the fighters for a moment as they do their cleanup job in Mercado's corner.
Well, Mercado is certainly building up points. Those are 10-8 rounds.
Round 8 with Hopkins of Philadelphia with his back to you. Mercado from right here in Quito on the right of your screen. Neither fighter has held a world championship. Hopkins has fought for one against Roy Jones Jr. but lost a 12-rounder. Mercado, a golden opportunity in his home country.
There's nothing happening in Bernard Hopkins' legs. There's nothing happening down there. He's stepping.
Mercado, you see him holding and firing that uppercut. Hopkins tries to fire back as they exchange in a corner.
What furious action. Each man giving and getting about equal. I mean, both men hammered themselves there. That was no advantage to either guy. Tough fighting. That's the kind of infighting that you like to see with two guys just punching away and the referee letting it.
Hopkins almost kind of shaking off some of that hot dogging that apparently Mercado's still handing out. He's kind of shakes it and said, no, they're not phasing me. My ringmanship is going to take over here if I can hold up in this altitude.
As far as I have it, and of course, in this place, I would think I'm right this time. Mercado is ahead of Bernard Hopkins because of 2 10-8 rounds and because there were trading rounds back and forth. I mean, you know, it's a in this place, you got to be giving credit to the guy who's putting the other guy down. In any place.
A little more blood coming from the nose of Mercado, but he's starting to dish out more punishment. Right in the center of the ring with Hopkins.
The crowd is absolutely in his corner, as you would expect it to be.
Digging left hand by Mercado. You could feel that one clear over here across the ring.
Look at that. He just won't let go. Hopkins is so tired that he won't let go. A small contingent of American fighters here rooting for him, trying to root him on, but they can't help him now. They can't help him here. What can help him is a nice short little punch that puts Mercado in trouble.
The only question I had to ask, as I mentioned, he may have come into this fight with one bullet in the chamber.
He may have shot it. Yeah, he may have shot it at the beginning of this fight.
Game plan was simple. He wanted to come out and put it away early. Mercado almost bit it early, but has certainly rebounded with 2 knockdowns of Hopkins in the 5th and 7th rounds. And he's fighting very smartly here in round 8.
Right. Something's bothering somebody here. What is it?
Mouthpiece has come out of the mouth of Mercado. They'll be to replace it and hold the clock for a moment. Can't be more than just a few seconds till the end of the round, though. Which will finish the 8th round of his scheduled 12-rounder.
There was more fighting going on in the rows there. You look outside. Michael Spinks is giving directions with his arm. Oliver McCall is giving directions with his arm. Everybody's giving him directions. But.
Well, that's 8 rounds here from Quito. Gentlemen, it's winding up into a war. Let's go back to New York with Bruce and Bobby.
And what a turnaround by Segundo Mercado, Bobby.
I'll tell you what, I've had 4 rounds to 4. Early, all Hopkins. Then Mercado came back. Then Hopkins came back. And now Mercado. The knockdowns are the difference. 2 points because of the 2 8-point rounds.
First knockdown came in round number 5. Let's take a look back.
Well, you know, Bernardo Mercado is just deceiving. He's on the ropes. He works off them well. Threw a nice right uppercut, catching Hopkins on the wind, and another shot, kind of a token, take this on the way down because it was a delayed reaction.
Hopkins had a good round in 6, but then in 7, another knockdown.
Once again, knockdown's going to kill him. Comes in again, another right uppercut, short inside. He's in trouble. A little bit of a delayed reaction. A couple more shots, and then he's just kind of sort of slam, push, drag to the floor afterwards.
So 2 knockdowns by Segundo Mercado. Let's go back to Quito, Ecuador. Here's Sam Smith and Ferdy Pacheco.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're underway in the 9th round of this title fight. As Mercado on the right again has thrown some bombs in the 5th and 7th round, as you pointed out, a couple of knockdowns of Hopkins.
And I have it exactly as Bobby has it, by 2 points and 4 to 4 in rounds with those 10-8 rounds. And boy, with this crowd here, would you hate to give it to the other guy after he's been knocked down twice?
As we pointed out, if he wins, the roof goes up. If he loses, the roof comes down.
On us.
You can see Mercado trying to step away from Hopkins, who has had a pretty good night if you base it on keeping him in the corner, but he hasn't been able to get the job done that he wanted to, Ferdy.
And right now he looks fresh after all this talk about altitude. He looks fresh, and Mercado does not. I mean, after all this talk, and this is his hometown, and he did train here.
He now lives in Quito. He's originally from the tropical beach area known as Esmeraldas. Descendants of African slaves migrating there and quite obviously settling the coastline, and now living in Quito under the great training gear. And you see Hopkins still pulling punches and Mercado answering with 1 or 2 of his own.
Watch his head. That's what the referee's telling him. And that head keeps bobbing in there. Mercado is looking weary all of a sudden. I don't know why, but he is.
Hopkins been able to slip a couple of punches in there on the corner.
Yeah, that second little tank of gas hadn't kicked in with Mercado, but it has with Hopkins. For the first time, he's bouncing instead of walking around. Uh-oh. Is it a cut? I do believe.
Oh, my. It's a pretty bad one right on the eyelid of the left eye. And it is a very bad cut, it looks like.
Well, we'll see when they get to the corner. It's hard to tell from here, but there is blood, and his head is right there. You can see how Hopkins puts his head down. I'm surprised he has not been warned by the referee. Well, they're not going to stop it on a cut here, I guarantee you.
No, they're not. And by the way, in the IBF, all you got to go is 6 before they go to the cards if it's stopped on a cut.
Hopkins getting a good shot in, but he's getting hammered. He got a good right hand flush on the jaw of Mercado. That's the kind of stuff that's tiring Mercado, but he's getting pummeled. But these 2 guys are really putting on a great fight.
And they add to that, it goes to the cards if indeed it was ruled as an accidental butt. It was not ruled by the referee, Sam Williams, or at least not an indication. Nonetheless, there is a bad cut over the left eye of Mercado.
I don't think they're going to bother him. Not in this climate, not with this roaring crowd. Big, deep breath by Mercado off the ropes, like saying, well, this round never ends.
And they have to be separated again as the bell goes off in the corner of Mercado. Oh, Sam Williams, I don't know what kind of money a referee makes in a world title fight, but it's not enough tonight. Wow. Well, that cut is certainly being looked at frantically now in the corner. While on the other side, they're trying to rally Hopkins.
Butt.
Not a lot of doubt.
Hey.
Oh, my.
Kind of obvious.
You can almost see that cut opening right after.
Gosh, that was not one of those things you didn't quite see. Everybody saw that, but no one said anything. Let's see if Mercado's got his second win and start going, because he's let Hopkins take these last 2 rounds looking good and strong.
He's coming out like a house of fire.
Yep,
Hopkins is trying to defuse him. They're exchanging World Championship style above us.
Yes, they are. That's it. That is World Championship competition. Give and take of the strongest kind. Hopkins getting the worst of it because Mercado punched more and landed better.
By the way, Ferdy, looking into Mercado's corner during that last round, not a lot of heads moving, which means not a lot of conversation as they work.
And they sat him down.
Yes.
They sat him down for the first time to work on a cut. They have to. I I personally think it's foolish for a fighter not to sit down anyway. I don't know any particular advantage you get standing up.
Mano a mano just goes so far, didn't it?
Yeah. But right now, Mercado has shot a big shotgun load, and he looks like he's back to being tired. He came out, won the first part of that round big, and now is running again, or as close as you can come to running from a guy standing right next to him.
Hopkins, by the way, has been 10 rounds 3 times and 12 rounds 3 times as well. Mercado has gone 10 once and 3 times in 12-round fights. He went 10 in his last win in February, while a big win by Hopkins over former world champion Lupi Aquino in the last fight for Hopkins.
Well, if you're ever in doubt when somebody says define a Philadelphia fighter, show him this fight. This kid is a Philadelphia fighter. No quit. All hammering, hooks, and punches, trying to get his way no matter what. And he is really putting on a performance. Mercado as well, trying to do as best he can for his countrymen. It's a pretty even fight now, even though those 2 knockdowns are going to make a difference in the scoring.
In the 5th and the 7th, Hopkins went down, both with a right hand by Mercado, who again is bleeding from the left eye, just above the eye. And again will not stop the fight. We're in the 10th.
Look at how long it takes him. You know why? One of those guys is very tired and doesn't want to be suffering.
And you probably could flip a coin to decide which one it is.
Right now, I think it's Mercado.
And Hopkins really has come on strong. You made mention he's fought well in the last 3 here, Cody.
Yeah, he has. He's slowly pulling even. And that would be something to see a guy win a title after having gone down twice. Not that it hasn't been done.
Under a half a minute to go. It's now Mercado. Oh, looked like he was running away and ran a wild left hook right back at Hopkins.
That was Willie Mays' throw from left field. He ran away, caught the ball, and threw it all in one motion. He was running away and came back and threw one punch. Jersey Joe Walker used to do that a lot beautifully, I might add.
I think I saw that in the funny papers, too. It was a sucker punch or a palooka.
Yeah. You just think that a guy is going away, and the next thing you know, he's hit you.
And there's the bell to end the 10th round. 6 minutes away from a decision. But who's to know the way they're fighting right now that one of these guys might not go down and out.
This is going to be very close. Again, perhaps, just perhaps, the judges will be influenced by this enormous, almost sellout crowd of people that are really rooting with everything they've got for their countrymen. Mercado.
You can almost hear the crowd. They kind of relax for a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, they take their breath for a minute. As they're on their feet, flags waving, drums beating.
They just said, you're so close, you got to play it now. Play it for your sister. Play it for the general. Play it means gamble it. Juégatelo. Gamble yourself.
So again, the sister of Segundo Mercado again commits suicide a week ago. One of the outstanding generals in Ecuador and a friend and a mentor of Segundo dies in a helicopter crash, and thus he dedicates the fight to them, and that's the reason they're trying to get him pumped up here for the 11th round.
They're exhorting him to just let it hang out, one way or another. Just let it hang out.
You got the feeling Hopkins' corner's doing the same.
Yeah, they got to be feeling a little bit better because they're seeing their fighter getting a little bit stronger and looking good. After all this conversation about not coming in here in time, and still he's out here like a punching machine. So much for that theory.
Hopkins again. You can see Mercado holding that left hand. Hopkins staying busy with the right hand.
Mercado just looking like he's wearing like a fortress being pounded to rubble.
If Mercado didn't have enough ammunition coming in against Hopkins, Hopkins defeated one of his 3 brothers that fought in the Mercado family early in his career back in May of '91. Went by the nickname of Howdy and was Hodang. And he knocked him out in 3 rounds, so there was a little bit of revenge, but that's been thrown out the window.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything on the fight starts.
Both fighters gaping at the mouth, trying to find some air.
And nothing happening with the cut. Cut has been well taken care of. Not a factor in this fight. I repeat, not a factor in this fight.
Hopkins almost getting back to his stalking style again. Good left hook, but Mercado, he tries to run away from it.
Well, he's been punching and running, and it's working for him.
Good right hand by Mercado as he kind of hot dogged a bit.
His trunks are coming apart. His whole back end is coming apart here. I don't think they count points for that, though. Now, heads are really bumping. All right. Williams said, watch the head again. That time it was Mercado that was using it.
Left hook by Hopkins. May have had some steam early on, but not now.
He's just trying to outbox him, trying to land punches and moving, hoping to win this round, and he sure needs it. Hoping to win this round, hoping not to make it get to the last round to decide this fight.
You see how quickly Hopkins comes fighting off the break the minute Sam Williams hollers for a break or separates him. He comes right back at him. Hopkins again with a good right hand and followed with a left hook to the head.
Hopkins looking the fresher, and he is the aggressor.
Mercado trying to come back to steal a few precious moments of the 11th round.
He's doing all right while he's outside popping and moving, but when he gets close, Hopkins eats him up.
That's the 11th round. We'll head for the 12th and final round in this world title fight, and they are going to be delirious here in Quito.
This is the last round, baby. This is the last round. You gotta fight more. Last round. Last round. Don't run in it.
Both guys. Gotta get him. Out of here.
He's scared. He's scared. He don't like his fucking blood. Come on, get it, puppy, baby. Go all the way down, baby. Roll from the bottom up, baby. From the bottom up. Big bolo. Big double and bolo. Yeah.
End of the 11th round, and a bone-weary Mercado is getting outspeeded by Hopkins, and where he's getting him sent for, I have no idea, because here's a man that should by all rights be tired, and yet he's not, but Mercado is, and he lives here. So much for the theory of physiology, fighters, and altitude.
This is the 12th and final round for the IBF middleweight vacant title.
And this could, they want to touch gloves, and they're having trouble negotiating it. This could very well be the title right here.
What do you got?
I got it dead even, but I mean, this little spurt that Hopkins has put on, like the last fight where Nunn put on a spurt and looked the fresher and looked the better. Now Mercado is choosing to outbox him and just gain points by outboxing and outpunching him when he gets to a punch out. Look at that.
Worry in the corner. Two men that have gone 11-plus rounds in 9,000-plus altitude in Quito. But one will survive as the champion. Which will it be in this final 3 minutes?
Well, this is another toss-up. Last one was a toss-up. This one is.
A slip by Hopkins. It's going to be very interesting. A knockdown in the 5th and the 7th round by Mercado of Hopkins could very easily determine this fight tonight.
Mercado's fighting like he's happy if the round goes by without getting knocked out, because he's not doing anything right now except boxing beautifully. He's just boxing, trying to get out, and trying to outstarch him when it comes to combat. So he must be boxing like he's got as much confidence in winning here as could possibly be. And Hopkins is not really getting to him either. So.
Cover up on the center of the ring as here this crowd trying to encourage Segundo.
They are two tired warriors. Tired. Mercado taking as much time off the clock as he can. He is sitting on that rope just trying to take the... Oh, all of a sudden Hopkins caught him. Mercado's in trouble.
Mercado grasping to try to hang on. Hopkins had caught him with something.
He caught him, and they're both so tired they can't finish in any kind of style. But Hopkins is a pressure. Look at those punches he's throwing.
Hopkins trying to load up in the final 45 seconds.
Mercado is weary. A guy that looks like he would go down if this thing went for 2 more minutes.
Under a half a minute to go. Mercado just hanging on for dear life. Hopkins still fighting on. A marvelous display of the Philadelphia banger and battler who came from the tough side of Philadelphia.
I don't know if they can give it to Bernard Hopkins, but in my book, he's won this title here. I don't know if they can give it to him with this crowd, but if it can't, then it'd be a shame. We won't know until it's over.
And it's over. In the ring already. Freddie Hope is going to be ring carry up there.
Well, I'm not so worried about there being a space as what's going to happen if they announce that Bernard Hopkins won, and it's not at all sure, of course, that he did. It's only my opinion. It was a marvelous fight. It could go either way.
You felt he won the 12th round?
I felt he did. I felt the other guy was on the way out. He was doing nothing but surviving, and Bernard was still fresh enough to chase him, as you can see with these punches. You see how, whether he's hitting or not, he is the one that's sharp. He's the aggressor. And the other guy's in a survival mode. The ropes aren't there. That guy's stretched on the canvas. I mean, he needed the ropes to keep him up. So, you know, that's the way it is.
You know, we think back as we watch the tail end of this 12th round. Mercado again, they ruled a slip back in the 3rd round. The ropes really held him up as they do again here in this round.
Yeah, he knows how to use ropes. He's a very good fighter. A very good fighter is Mercado. I think against everything we thought about, the guy with the energy is Bernard Hopkins at the end. The guy that was exhausted is Mercado at the end. So we'll see. I mean, if the judges got enough guts to give it to Bernard Hopkins in a land where 99% of the people are rooting for Mercado, we'll soon see.
Paul Gibbs of Seattle, Washington, Francisco Hernandez of Colombia, and Al DeVito of West Orange, New Jersey are the men in the hot seat right now. They have collected their cards as you see how well Hopkins finished out the 12th round as Mercado continued just to kind of run from him and got caught in that 12th round. And where Hopkins ever got the stamina, the strength to continue as he did through 12 solid rounds is going to be something they'll be talking about for a long, long time to come. You see the pandemonium in the ring. You can imagine what it's going to be after the decision one way or the other. Is it Mercado, first ever Ecuadorian to win any world title? As a matter of fact, their soccer teams have not been of the class to get them close to a World Cup, so they haven't enjoyed a lot of great success in the sports. And he's hoping to be the first, as he says, to go down in history. Philadelphia's proud boxing history, though, rests on the shoulders of this young man. No middleweight has ever won a world title, but Bernard Hopkins may be very close to doing that tonight. It may be a knockdown in the 5th and a knockdown in the 7th, and denies him that opportunity here tonight. And the crowd is anxiously with their whistles waiting for that decision to be made. Purdy, by the way, has departed ringside and will, as the game competitor he is, will fight the crowd to get in the ring for the interviews after the decision has been made. Mercado fought a fight that at times looked like he was just kind of waltzing through, letting Hopkins kind of carry the fight, and then like a snake out of the dark, he would lash out and catch Hopkins. Hopkins with a clear headbutt opened up that devastating cut over the left eye in the 10th round that played no effect on this outcome of the fight, however. And then Mercado going down, putting Hopkins down twice, really may have been the telltale signs of it. But Hopkins fought so brilliantly in the last 4 rounds as he hopes to kind of stood it away, and Jimmy Lennon even trying to find his spot in the ring after the cards and the decision. Jimmy's checking over the cards. Let's head it upstairs. The moment of truth is here. Is it Hopkins, the first middleweight champion in Philadelphia? Or is Mercado, the first ever Ecuadorian champion of any kind? Here's the decision with Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Damas y caballeros, tras de 12 rounds, aquí está la decisión. Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, here are the score totals. El juez Hernández tiene la pelea 116 a 114, 116 to 114, Mercado. El juez Al dividido. Anota 114 a 111, 114, 111 a favor de Hopkins. El juez Paul Gibbs tiene la pelea 113 a 113, 113 to 113 a draw. La decisión es un empate. The decision is even, a draw.
Champion. Well, we've seen a couple of great fights here in Quito, but we're not through, as Ferdy Pacheco somewhere in that crowd will rejoin you in a moment. Right now, let's send you back to New York, to Bruce and Bobby. Fellas?
So what a fight, Bobby Ches. It ends up as a draw, which means they're going to have to do it again.
I'll tell you what, I give the last 4 rounds to Hopkins. Clearly, he closed the show. He got it done. He won that title, and you know, I know they wanted to get out of there alive, so a draw probably fairly reasonable for the crowd's sake.
Going back to the second round for a moment, I have written down not much, and that was a round that you scored for Hopkins and I scored for Mercado, and I think the judges could have seen it anyway.
I gave the first 3 rounds to Hopkins and then 2 to Mercado, and it was back and forth all the way through.
All right, standing by in the ring is Ferdy, so let's return once again to Coliseo General Rumiñahui in Quito, Ecuador.
Thank you, Bruce. Welcome back once again to Quito. By the way, there's only been 8 draws prior to tonight in the championship fight in the middleweight division, but they add the 9th. And again, is there a rematch in the offering? Ferdy Pacheco is upstairs in the mob. He'll find out to try to resort this thing. Let's go upstairs to the fight doctor here in Quito.
Well, you can imagine the excitement here. Everybody's mad on both sides. Butch Lewis is mad, and let me talk to the fighter who fought his heart out. Tell him what you just told me. You fought your heart out.
I'd like to give all praises to Allah. My family, my mom, them been rooting for me. Look like that house gonna be on hold for a minute, Mom, but I think I pulled it out by 1 point. I'm a warrior. I'd like to thank Butch Lewis and all the hard training in camp. I'm fighting in a high altitude. Everybody thought that it was gonna bother me, but it bothered him more than me. We gotta do it again. Don King and Butch Lewis put on a hell of a show. I showed a big heart, a warrior's heart. I think I pulled it out the last 2 rounds. I don't think it was a knockdown the second time, but Segundo Mercado was a tough fighter. I'm in his backyard. I think I should get the I should get a benefit of doubt of fighting this high altitude and didn't expect it.
Now, for a man who has a strong perspective always, Butch Lewis, let Butch have a say-so.
Well, Ferdy, the cards were stacked against us. He was holding on. He was fighting. They brought us in. We came in 3 days before the fight. My warrior, Bernard Hopkins, bit down. We had him down. It was a real tough fight. He was holding on throughout the fight. It was never a situation where we, under any circumstances, should have come out of here to a draw. We should have come out of here definitely with the win.
All right, a disappointed fighter, an irate manager, and Don King, the promoter of this, who has another attitude about it.
He lost the fight. Everybody's seen it in TV land. Everybody on Showtime Championship Boxing. The man got knocked down twice. The referee counted him twice. And he end up and get a draw. And all of the judges come from the United States. This is not right. This is not right. I call it like I see it. I don't keep that. But he was hitting more punches. He won the fight. And so you got a problem there. You got a problem there. But he lost that fight. Segundo Mercado won the fight. You didn't pull it off. No, you did pull it off. You did pull it off, but you didn't do it in the ring. You know what I mean? You didn't. This is wrong. So it's okay. The bounty is a great fight, though. That's one thing nobody can complain about. It was a great fight. Both fighters fought very hard.
It was a great fight. We're looking for Mercado now. If you could, I had him on the head by 1. Mercado, ven para acá. And I think it was one of the best championship fights I've seen in a long
Listen, all
time.
right, if you win it, I ain't got no problem. When you win it, you got it. I don't care about that.
Let me talk to the fighter. Get tu crees de tabla.
Bueno, no.
I'm asking, what does he think of the draw?
La pelea la gané ampliamente. Le he dado 2 knockdowns.
He knocked him down twice, and he beat him.
Él es un buen boxeador.
Very good boxer.
Buen boxeador y lo admiro y espero que siga adelante.
And he admires him and he hopes that he goes forward and do this again.
In our hometown next.
Tú vienes a pelear en América.
Cuando quiera.
Wherever he wants. Between these two managers, the fighter says anytime he wants, and the fighter says anytime he
Él
wants.
es mi hermano de deporte y hermano de sangre.
He said he's my brother in sports. No problem. And a nice hug and a shake between two fighters that have given us a tremendous fight. And we're going to...
You are that. But you lost that one. You lost that one. You got a break. So you got an early Christmas present. You got an early Christmas present.
Well, Don, now here the two of us. When can we put this barn burner together again? In a neutral. He don't have to come. Let's get neutral and get busy then.
Well, we should have been neutral there. We should have been neutral with all of the officials and everything else. But listen, it's a good fight. It's a good fight. But it's still Segundo Mercado won the fight. You know what I mean? So that's what makes controversy.
That's why when me and him get together, we can never agree on anything.
Yeah, this was a better fight than the end of the fight. All right.
Well, Doc, you gave me your opinion, Doc, and I respect you as an announcer. You gave your opinion. I can live with that.
You guys are going to have to go do it again. It was so close it could go either way. It's a draw, so you'll do it again. So now, from all of this excitement, Merry Christmas to everybody. From Butch Lewis, from Don King. Let me say Feliz Navidad.
Lo importante que hemos hecho una buena pelea. Bernard Hopkins, un gran boxeador. Igual lo admiro mucho, pero tiene que reconocer que le gané, pero hay que seguir adelante. Cuando quiera, le doy la revancha donde sea.
All right. No matter where, we'll have a rematch. We'll all have a good year. We love each other. We're all sports figures. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Back to ringside where it's quiet.
Thank you, Purdy. And quite obviously, the column under the IBF middleweight champion is still vacant. We have not settled anything. Don King believes that Hopkins indeed did lose to Mercado. And obviously Hopkins has a different idea. That will be a rematch, where and when, of course, to be determined. Frankie Lyles, of course, has defended his WBA Super Middleweight Championship with a win over Michael Nunn. It has been quite a night, and this arena has certainly been rocking here in Quito, Ecuador. So for all of us, speaking on behalf of Freddie Pacheco, this is Sam Smith, indeed, Feliz Navidad, back to our studios in New York with Bruce Beck and Bobby Chaz. Gentlemen.
All right, thank you very much, Sam. Well, Bobby, some real good action at the end of the fight. Butch Lewis and Don King, one of the best action parts of the whole evening.
If they fight, I'll pay $500 to see that.
Looking back on this fight, I mean, it had so many elements. These two fighters might not be the best middleweights we've seen. They're not in the class of Leonard or a Hagler, but sometimes you get great fights with guys who aren't the best fighters in their respective divisions.
No, but they're two very good fighters, and they matched up very well. Tremendous excitement, knockdowns, good punches, great action. And I think Hopkins was right. He lasted better in high altitude.
By the way, that last round we had 4 seconds short. Now let's pick up some highlights. Let's go back to the 5th round. This is the first knockdown by Mercado, Bobby.
You know, once again, there's a delay of your action here. He hit him with an inside right hand. It wasn't quite an uppercut. It was fading back, and then it was kind of like just a token take that on the way down. And it was a clean knockdown.
7th round, second time, Mercado drops Hopkins.
Again, he's coming in. He'll run into an uppercut on the inside, and he'll just rip up underneath inside, and then boom, he goes down. Although that wasn't the replay. Here it comes here. Right inside. He's a little dazed here. His legs are coming out from him. He's trying to hold on. And you can see Mercado trying to free him loose and wrap the right hand underneath the left hand. They weren't the punches that did the damage. He was already hurt.
Bad cut over Mercado's left eye in the 9th round, but it didn't prove to be a factor down the stretch.
They took good care of it in the corner, and that fight was such a good, heated, close fight that I don't think anyone was going to stop it, especially in Ecuador.
Now, Hopkins, let's pick up some action. In the 6th round, Hopkins had an excellent round, but somehow Mercado got away without getting on the canvas.
Well, you see, he comes back. I've done this before. Unfortunately, I was on the tail end of that once or twice myself. You hit that bottom rope. If the rope keeps you from hitting the canvas, which you clearly did, it's supposed to be considered a knockdown, but they didn't call it. And it was a great close by Hopkins, who lasted in his high altitude tremendously. The whole last 4 rounds, he was nothing but the aggressor. Full of energy, looked like he was starting the fight over, and the man who lives in Ecuador faded dramatically.
After the start that Mercado had, it's amazing the way he got some confidence back, Bobby, and as the fight progressed, he looked like a different fighter.
Well, I tip my hat to him. As I look at my scorecard, I only gave 4 rounds to Mercado, but 2 of them were 2-point rounds. So Segundo Mercado, who did look like he was controlling Hopkins, didn't really control him enough to win the title. I think he lost it.
And if you look back at this fight, there were 2 or 3 times that Mercado could have gone down, and he was lucky either by the ropes or somehow got away with the referee's decision there.
Well, he was hurt several times, but I still believe that he was out-hustled by Hopkins. He was out-hustled. These 2 guys put on a tremendous fight, a tremendous pace. Maybe don't have the raw talents of a Gerald McClellan, but I'll tell you what, either one of these fighters get in with Castro, they have a real war.
Or WBO champion Steve Collins.
Haven't seen Steve Collins as of late, but this is a war for any of those 3. McClellan, again, the standout.
All right. So right now, as we do in all of our telecasts, it is time to present the Fighter of the Night Award. A special panel of judges comprised of members of the media covering tonight's action have voted on the Fighter of the Night. Tonight's panel includes Monty Cox of the Quad City Times from Davenport, Iowa, Fabian Gallardo of Gamavision in Quito, Ecuador, and Victor Hugo of Diario El Comercio, also of Quito, Ecuador. The ballots are in. Let's see how our judges voted for tonight. And the winner is Bernard Hopkins. So Bernard Hopkins has been named our Fighter of the Night. Congratulations to Hopkins on being selected. A $15,000 donation will be made by Don King Productions and Showtime Networks Incorporated to the name of Bernard Hopkins to Fei Algeria, a national charity in Ecuador, which translates in English to faith and happiness. Fei Alegria is the correct pronunciation. So, Bobby Ches, a wild night of boxing. Your final thoughts?
I'll tell you what, I think that fight is a great return fight, tremendous action fight. The 2 southpaws put on a better fight than we thought in the slug match of 2 boxers. I thought it was a good night of boxing all the way around.
What about Frankie Lyles? He started out so strong, and that was able to be the difference.
Well, he started out strong. He built up a big lead. Then with the point deduction, which I thought was the difference, none just couldn't close the gap strong and hard enough. There were no knockdowns, so I thought by a point he lost. Very controversial. Some of the judges had it far too much of a runaway.
Any of these guys ready to step up to the upper echelon?
You know, no one's really shown that yet. They're still wavering on the head, you know, just on the limits of being really the class of the crop, and nobody really going to unify, not even thinking about it right now.
Right now it's time to take a look at what has transpired tonight. First of all, it was Frankie Lyles who proved that his victory over Steve Little was no fluke, as he successfully defended his WBA super middleweight title for the first time with a unanimous decision over Michael Nutt. And then in our main event of the evening for the vacant IBF middleweight championship, it ends up as a draw between Bernard Hopkins and Segundo Mercado. Hence, the title remains vacant. We'd like to thank our crew in South America and in New York who made this co-production possible. So for Sam Smith, Bertie Pacheco, and Bobby Ches, I'm Bruce Beck saying happy holidays, everyone, and so long for this edition of Showtime Championship Boxing.